Welcome to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I am your host, Max Kellerman, and joining me, former heavyweight contender and world-class trainer Malik Scott. To my left, the prodigal son has returned.
That's right.
Ring Magazine senior insider Mike Coppinger. And to Mike's left, his boss, the editor-in-chief
like
of Ring Magazine, or as Copp calls him, Sir.
That's right.
Doug Fischer.
Sir Doug.
That's right. Doug, if you need any coffee at any point in the show,
No.
you have my guy right here.
I got my guy right here, yeah.
That's right.
Time for the lead hook. It is official. New York City, January 31st. Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. I always say it, when boxing gets it right, no other sport comes close. And this is boxing getting it right. The best fighting the best. Both fighters believe that this matchup settles the argument about who leads the new era. So what do we think of the Styles matchup, guys? This is a high-speed chess match a la Sugar Ray Leonard or Pernell Whittaker, Leonard and Benitez, or
Yes.
Pernell Whittaker, Buddy McGirt, or is it a Jerry versus Jerry fight, right? Because no one wants to take the lead, or is it something else? Malik, I'll start with you.
I think it's a very special fight. It's the type of matchups we always are acting for. When it comes to explosiveness, I would have to go with Teo. When it comes to actual rapid speed, I would have to go with Teo. But when it comes to body punching, when it comes to good timing, when it comes to craft, I would have to give all of that to Shakur Stevenson.
What do you think, Doug?
They're both boxers. I look at Stevenson as a versatile technician. I look at Teofimo. He's a boxer puncher, but his specialty is his counter punching. Mm-hmm. Listen, if Stevenson wants to be on his stick and move game, very difficult style matchup for Teofimo, and maybe not that entertaining to the fans.
Because Stevenson's longer.
Exactly.
Stevenson's defense probably the best in the game,
and
he's longer.
Great reflexes and timing, and so does Teo. That's why he's a great counterpuncher. Mm-hmm. But he's a very special athlete, and as a competitor, he is one of those guys who saves his A game for a fellow elite opponent. That's when he really rises his game and shows us the Teofimo Lopez that everybody thought he was when he was a prospect.
Mike,
People used to look at him and say, oh, this guy is going to be the star in boxing. It didn't really play out that way, but every now and then he reminds us how special he is.
Yes. Teofimo is a two-division Ring Magazine champion. In both fights where he won the Ring Magazine championship, he was the underdog. 4-1 underdog against Lomachenko. People forget, Lomachenko was taking elite fighters in the lower divisions and they were quitting.
Yes.
He was beating them into some, they were like, I can't do this, right? And Teofimo beat him, right? He outboxed him.
Yeah, he didn't do it by physically imposing himself on him.
He outboxed him, he outfought him, he had
Yeah.
speed, power, and then again against Josh Taylor at junior welterweight, he was the underdog. So he saves his best for his biggest moments.
Yes, and Max, and look, I give Shakur a lot of credit, right? Because we see fighters like Bruce Ennis that want to do a tune-up fight at their first fight at the new weight. And like Devin Haney, Shakur saying, I'll go right to the top dog at 140. So props to my best friend, Shakur Stevenson, Max.
Yes.
But look,
What is the beef with you two?
I think it's fun, I think we. I don't think it's real hate.
You have this ability to bring out a certain kind of animosity in people in the boxing world. Does this extend to outside the boxing world?
Yeah, it does.
Or
It
does.
I've had that ability since I've been like 4 years old, Max, and growing up. But you asked about Teo. I actually think this fight is about Teofimo more than it is about Shakur Stevenson. And the reason I say that is to what Doug said. When Teofimo Lopez rises to the occasion, he looks like a guy that can't be beat sometimes. And I say it's really about Teo here because Shakur, like you said, he's the favorite, 3.5 to 1 favorite right now. He's the one moving up in weight. And if you look at it stylistically, Shakur, right, he's the better boxer. We've seen Teo have problems with, fast and fleet boxers like Sandor Martin and Jermaine Ortiz. But then you think about sometimes when Teo rises to the occasion, I mean, the odds were close in the Josh Taylor fight, but everyone was picking Josh Taylor that you spoke to in boxing.
Yeah.
And we saw what Teo did to Josh Taylor. We saw what Teo did to Lomachenko. And one of the things that I think that gets lost in that fight against Lomachenko is Teo threw more than 100 punches in the final round to make sure he won that fight.
Yeah, no question. Even in the loss that he had against Kambosos, where he had a puncture, like he had some medical condition in his esophagus that was dangerous actually, and it looked like an off night. By the way, George Kambosos doesn't like when I say this, and I apologize. I understand it feels unfair to you, and maybe it is unfair, but this is my honest opinion. It may be, but it is still my honest opinion, Malik. I just have to be honest with the way I see it. I don't think that was the best version of Teo by a long shot. But even then, he was rallying in that fight late. He has championship heart. And the thing I like about Teo's style, I mean, when you have a guy like Shakur whose defense is that good, and he's not just a guy who's going to hug you, he can box, you know. The easiest thing in the world is just to pick him against everybody.
Right.
Yes.
But Teo also has the kind of footwork, Malik, where he steps around guys. And I think about Buddy McGirt, Meldrick Taylor.
Yes.
Roy, you know, where Meldrick had quick enough feet where if you were going to come right at Buddy McGirt, he could box you. But Meldrick could give him angles that were more difficult. I think of Roy Jones, James Toney. If you were going to go at James Toney, forget it. His defense is too good. But Roy had the feet to move around James Toney, and maybe Teo has the feet to move around Shakur.
I seriously doubt it, man. Shakur is a whole different type of animal. His ring IQ is up there with the best. He's getting literally, I don't know how many times we've seen 2 pound-for-pound fighters sparring each other. Shakur Stevenson is getting top quality work, literally top quality work. And that makes me want to ask, like, I wonder how he look at his opponents after boxing Bud so many times and always in camp with Bud, and not just in camp with him, sparring him. I'm sure that played a big factor in his confidence.
What do you guys think about the idea? I look at this fight, Teo has more to lose. Sorry. Shakur has more to lose. Yes. He's the undefeated fighter. He's seen as the eventual pound-for-pound champ potentially. But Teo has more to win. He has more to gain. So on the one hand, is there an advantage there where Shakur is fighting to protect that perfect record, to protect that kind of sense that he's the next guy? On the other hand, Teo is like he can fight with more abandon against Shakur because there's so much for him to gain. And if he loses, he's lost before. He's lost to Kambosos, and he came back from that. But oh my God, if he can pull it off. Like, if it's a close fight and Teo could keep it close and we're going into the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, is there an advantage there given that situation?
He came back from that Kambosos fight, but in some way, the jury is still out on Teo a little bit because I'm going to tell you what, on that card that was done in Times Square, he looked the best out of, with all due respect, out of a lot of people that didn't look good.
Yep.
But if you put him in the main event somewhere, that people wouldn't, to me, really raved about that fight.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So the jury he still have a lot to prove too. Not as much as Shakur, but he definitely do have a lot to prove still.
Yeah, I agree with you, Max. I think Shakur has more to lose here. Shakur is the one that's thought of as, like you said, pound for pound #1 one day, maybe someday in the not too distant future. He's the favorite in this fight, bigger favorite than anything any of us anticipated, at around 3.5 to 1. But Teo, look, what I look at here is I think Teofimo, yes, he's had problems with boxers, which scares me for Teo, but I'm going to use your word, Max, fast twitchies.
Yep.
Shakur Stevenson had a lot of problems with Edwin De Los Santos. I think that was a majority decision, and De Los Santos, what does he have? Very twitchy guy, athletic.
And the difference here is that they're both twitchy, they're both fast, they're both excellent boxers. Teo's a puncher. I know it hasn't shown up in recent fights, but we have watched both of their careers. Shakur is not a puncher.
No.
Teo is.
Teo it can be an explosive, I hit you with a shot
and
you don't see,
type,
and you are out cold type puncher.
And talking about power, strength too. I think Teo's going to be the much stronger guy in there. Shakur Stevenson's not a strong guy.
I think he's getting stronger.
Me too.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
Definitely
But this is his first fight at 140, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not disrespecting
I
his
feel
strength.
like, but I also feel like that Shakur might surprise you, Mike, with his physical strength. Physical strength, as we all know, doesn't always translate to punching power.
Sure, of course not.
But when he was a younger fighter, he looked like he could be moved around by his opponent.
Like that.
Doesn't look like that anymore.
No, he's definitely matured in his body. But first fight at 140, Teo's what? I think this is maybe his 5th fight at 140?
Yeah.
Something like that?
That's true, but Shakur has a frame where he can put on 140 very comfortably. I think he's going to look as strong as Devin Haney did stepping up to 147.
I believe so,
I think he's
too,
going to
Joe.
feel really good at junior welterweight.
Shakur is one of those guys and who comes along, and I think this is really the question about him. I said he is one of those guys. Is he one of those guys? Like Purnell, like Roy, like Floyd, their defenses were so good, and they boxed in a way where they weren't going to take unnecessary risks. They weren't running and holding. You know, I had a problem with the second half of the Haney-Norman fight because I felt like they continue to box. Purnell did, Roy did, and Shakur does now, right? But when a guy has those advantages in boxing skill and speed, and they don't take risks, they are almost impossible to beat. So no matter who Purnell was fighting, no matter who Roy was fighting, if someone would have asked me who they're going to be, they're fighting Godzilla, Purnell. They're fighting Roy. Shakur has that look to me, and the style to me, but does he rise to that level? Because it's not enough just to have that. It has to be executed at an extremely high level. Do you guys feel like he has that look to you?
Well, it showed against Zepeda that he will rise to that level.
But Zepeda's not elite. Zepeda's never been in anybody's
and he's a lot more stationary and front foot just one way. But considering, I like to go back to the performance rate. So anything Zepeda is not considered after he fought Shakur, he really wasn't considered. So Shakur was going in there expecting a whole lot from him, especially the hype that was behind him. And I love how he rose to the occasion and did everything he had to do to win.
Yeah.
And he showed guts in that fight.
Yes.
He showed stamina. He showed a willingness to stand and trade.
Yes.
Showed toughness.
But it's easy to show guts, easier to show guts when the guy's not a puncher.
Right.
Zepeda's a high-volume guy. He's not a puncher. Teofimo is a puncher. He really is a puncher.
He's got that one-punch power.
We
didn't see that when he just fought Barboza. I didn't see nothing.
Yeah, that's why I don't consider that a top performance.
I will say this. I was on ringside for that fight, and I thought there were several times where Barboza did not push the action because he felt Teo's power. Teo was countering on some big hard shots.
But there's a reason he wasn't going for a guy.
Okay.
But the truth is, I know what you mean, that Teo was a lights-out puncher at 135 pounds.
Out cold.
Once he moved up to 140, it was much more of the footwork and hit you with punches you don't see and win on points than it was the the destructive guy at the lighter weight. Terrence Crawford, guys, posted the following on his social media. Okay, quote, "I don't know it all, but what I do know is Shakur Stevenson beating the bleep out of Teofimo Lopez." Now, Shakur Stevenson might box the bleep out of guys. He doesn't really beat the bleep out of anybody. What do we think of this?
But from a boxing perspective, a lot of people would consider, if you're a boxer, like, Buddy McGirt my guy, but I would consider in the second fight, I would consider that was a beating Purnell Whittaker put on him from a boxer standpoint. I would say what Shakur did to Zepeda in a good fight, he really beat him up.
I mean, Terrence Crawford beats guys up.
Not punishing.
Marvin Hagler beat guys up.
Very punishing, but I'm talking about from a boxer back foot type of guy.
Yeah.
He really put a number on Zepeda.
He did. He boxed him.
I don't see him putting a terrible physical beating on Lopez, but I do see Shakur standing his ground and fighting in the pocket more than people expect.
Do you see him being successful doing that, Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
I feel like this fight is a winner's bracket fight from an era, but we're getting it now. You know, when you look at like Tank and Haney and Ryan and this and that, and Shakur and Teofimo and Lomachenko, even though he was older, but there were a whole bunch of really talented guys in and around the weight neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I feel like these two could have easily been the two when the dust settled left standing, but the dust hasn't settled yet. They're just getting it on.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's what excites me about the fight. Coming up, Pitbull versus Roach, Fulton versus Foster. Man, that's
crazy
good
work.
fights.
Crazy
we
work.
get into all that. This is Inside the Ring. Welcome back to Inside the Ring. I don't know, see that magazine right behind Malik there? Ring Magazine. Editor-in-Chief of Ring Magazine, Doug Fischer, sitting in for Shady McCoy today. Are you comfortable, Doug? Do you have everything you need? Because
I am. If I need some
Copp
coffee,
is your
I got
employee, and he is
my man right here.
at a moment's
That's right.
notice ready to get you anything. Guys, there's a big fight night coming up this weekend.
Yes,
Headline
very big.
by the guy who just beat Tank Davis, Lamont Roach Jr. And I'm not just saying he beat Tank Davis. Oh, I thought he won the fight. It's because it was called a draw. He was not given a point for a legitimate knockdown. And Tank did not go to a neutral corner. He went to his own corner, which should have been at the minimum a point deduction. So between those two things, at least a point should have come off and Lamont Roach should have gotten the decision. They screwed that up even in review. But anyway, he's rising in weight, Lamont Roach, for the second time in as many fights, not because he can't make the weight anymore, but because he's a real prize fighter who will fight for the prize. And that's where it is. If the prize is above his weight class, he'll go get it. And he's taking on the formidable Pitbull Cruz. So what carries the day, guys? Pitbull Cruz's size and strength and determination, right? Or Roach's technique and determination. What carries the day here?
Whoever fight Pitbull or Cruz, to me, they have an opportunity to be in Fight of the Year. That's how I look at Pitbull or Cruz. But I know that Lamont Roach, he has the intelligence and IQ enough to know I'm not going to make this a back and forth thing. I'm going to use my IQ and keep turning this guy, hitting it with combinations. And at times, I think he will attempt to try to back Pitbull up, but we're going to see if he's successful.
Dougie, it's like, I hear that, and I think I agree with that, basically. I think one guy's just a better boxer. On the other hand, he is the naturally smaller guy moving up to fight a guy whose determination is part of his nickname is Pitbull. It's part of the reason that he's been successful and has had the success, at least to the extent that he's had it, in his career so far. And a lot of what we think about Lamont Roach comes from the performance against Tank Davis.
That's true.
But they knew each other so well from the
Familiar as amateurs,
and sometimes that breeds a certain kind of respect. People say it breeds contempt.
Also, the same area of the country.
The
So
whole thing.
There's
a rivalry so
there.
that Roach is up for the rivalry and Tank knows what he's getting into. It's not like, right? And Lamont's not going to be intimidated by that.
Tank gave him respect. And Lamont wasn't scared.
But this is not Tank Davis. This is Pitbull Cruz.
Pitbull will give him no respect. That's why he's a Pitbull. But also,
straight
he's called Pitbull because he's squat. He was short for a lightweight. He's short for a junior welterweight. But he has established himself at that weight. He's got some good wins. He's got the stoppage against Rolly Romero. That aged well. Here's the thing about Pitbull. He is a pressure fighter. He's your quintessential Mexican pressure fighter. Great left hook to the body. But he has underrated craft. When he gets inside, he did a really good job of this when he was fighting Tank Davis. He neutralized that left cross and that left uppercut. Just had his right hand pinned here, right again. He was answering the phone. But then he would just turn with it whenever he could see, and he was good at spotting it. Whenever Tank tried to load up with the left uppercut, that same left uppercut
he would catch it.
Obliterated our guy Leo Santa Cruz.
Yes.
That same punch, he caught it so many times, just right here on the glove. So he's smarter than he's given credit for. I agree with Malik. I slightly favor Lamont Roach, even though this is a new division. He hasn't established himself at this division, but I do think he's going to feel good weighing in at 140. I think he was hurting himself a little bit making 130.
I love how people there's a stereotype of Mexican fighters, even at the top level. He's not a stereotypical Mexican fighter. He's smart and he has technique. When in fact, if you rise to a world-class level with a style that aggressive, you have to have technique.
Gotta have
you have to have technique.
Have to be announced.
These dudes, we were talking about it before the show, but I think of a fight like Chavez and Camacho back in the day, and everyone thinks of Camacho as the boxer because he's on the perimeter of the ring running around, and Chavez as the slugger because he's coming in.
Yes,
but Chavez outboxed Camacho.
Yes,
he just did it coming forward.
Absolutely.
So is there a chance? Do you guys think that there's any chance that Pitbull could outbox Lamont Roach? Does he have enough? I don't mean from a distance with a jab and this and that. I mean, can he apply his technique,
his style,
and his style in a way that carries the day?
Absolutely, Max. I think there's a lot of recency bias playing into this fight, and I'm probably guilty of that too. Like you said, Lamont Roach, we're going off of one performance, and that was against Gervonta Davis. Great performance. Roach showed us things that he's never showed any of us before. Roach was a guy who was a 9-1 underdog against Gervonta Davis. He never impressed anybody, really.
Yes, he did, Mike.
Well, that's why he got the fight, though, Malik. To Mike's point, he got the fight.
He got stopped by Jamel Herring, Malik.
No, he did not get stopped by Jamil.
Oh, sorry.
Herring.
I'll point. Didn't he get dropped by him?
It was a little trip and fall.
Okay, sorry, I got dropped. Either way, he lost to
And some
Jamil
people
Herring.
actually thought he won that
No
fight.
disrespect to Jamil Herring, but
came on late.
people who lose to Jamil Herring are
Lamont
typically
came on
being
late.
picked.
Yes.
to
Jamel
beat
Herring's a
Gavazi.
good fighter, but
Yes,
was a good fighter.
Solid fighter, yes.
But I hear what you're saying. To Mike's point, he doesn't get the fight with Tank Davis if he was viewed as a real threat to Tank Davis. Tank wasn't taking
He was
fights.
selected to lose.
He was
Yeah,
right. He was
selected.
picked.
Everybody
He was a
almost
belt
selected.
holder
He was
and a
selected
lighter
as
weight.
it was supposed to be. It was
Yeah,
supposed to
but
be
Mike
an
is
easy
saying,
tune-up.
therefore, he falls
It
into
was
that
supposed to be an
category.
easy tune-up fight for him. That's what they saw it as.
Yes.
And full credit to Roach. He took full advantage. He has excellent fundamentals, like you pointed out. I'm picking him to win the fight. But yes, look, Roach, sorry, not Roach, Pitbull Cruz with his pressure.
Yep.
And again, you said the Rolly Romero victory aged very well. This is a guy that gave Tank Davis all he could handle.
And moving up to fight a physical fighter who
Yeah.
has physical strength, right?
I think we're looking at Roach getting maybe overvalued off of the Tank fight, and then Pitbull Cruz being undervalued over the loss of that as well.
Sometimes, though, like events have a certain momentum. And what I mean by that is people used to say the title makes a guy 50% better, right? And not that it's the title exactly, but I mean, that's pretty the way Roach missed the jab on purpose just then to set up the right hand.
Yes.
It's not that he won the title or
lot of
anything,
that,
but the
too.
performance against Tank, which may have partly been about the familiarity with Tank and the stuff that we discussed earlier about the fact that they knew each other well, he wasn't intimidated, all that. That could put a certain pep in a fighter's step, right? That could bring out a side of the fighter
yes.
that is, first of all, they have more financial resources, they can focus on boxing, et cetera, right? More.
He also knows more
I think
people
he's
are looking at him.
He knows more.
He
exactly.
had an
He's in the
extended victory lap after that
100%.
draw.
100%.
He was on all the podcasts,
Yes.
all the shows.
And I think some of that is baked into these
People talking
odds, that
about
there's
him.
a sense
Sure.
that he's riding the momentum of that, but not just in some BS way, in a real way. And it's and people are expecting him to outbox Pitbull. You like him to outbox Pitbull.
do.
You said it.
I
You
do
like him
too.
to outbox Pitbull?
I do.
You like him to outbox
The
him?
thing with this, is I expect him to outbox Pitbull, but everyone to me that outbox Pitbull, they can punch. I wouldn't consider Roach a puncher. You have to be able to keep Pitbull off of you. Even Rolly Romero was able to keep him off sometimes. And Rolly is a puncher. We can say whatever we want about him.
heavy
He's a
hands.
heavy-handed
Heavy,
guy.
absolutely,
The test is really going to be is once Roach put his hands on him and Pitbull keep that no-neck presence and say that's not enough and come forward, Roach is
not
going to
have
have to do everything he know how to do good. He's going to have to be able to do it all night long without breathing.
Right. In other words, not just hold him and
Well, I call it intelligent clinching.
yeah.
You
But-
call it holding.
Yes,
legs.
yes. Not too
Roach
much
doesn't
intelligence.
really do that. He's
No,
a technician.
no, he's
That's
a
what I'm trying to
fighter.
say.
He's a body puncher.
Yes.
And he's a sneaky, crafty body puncher.
And it's all tight inside too, man.
But that can work against you. You're going to the body, you get hit with the hook.
He
Yeah.
can box. He can box and he can fight.
But who is the real Roach? Is the real Roach the guy that, again,
Yeah.
yes, Jamel Herring, solid fighter.
Yes.
Hector Luis Garcia, another solid fighter that Roach won. It wasn't going away. So did Roach just, find himself in his Gervonta Davis fight, and now has all this
think so.
confidence, and I think that's possible.
That's my suspicion too. I think the title has made him 50% better.
Listen, the beating Garcia, being Hector Garcia, that gave him a title.
Yes.
So that obviously gives him some confidence. It's a lifelong goal. His first defense against not a contender, like a French contender, the guy from Ireland, Fergal McCrory.
Fergal McCrory, yep.
He was brilliant. He got himself a stoppage. The body attack was there. The combinations was there.
Complete win. Yeah.
And then against Davis, I think he proves to himself, okay, I'm on this level. Didn't get the win, but I proved myself against an elite level guy.
I don't care what they say. That's a win.
Right.
I will always refer to that
So
as a
he's
win.
taking that momentum in here. And I'll add something else. While he was with Golden Boy Promotions, he was matched coming up. And by the way, against Jamel Herring, it was like a sanctioning body mandatory or whatever. But he was really a prospect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
He was still learning. And he learned from those 12 rounds. That was part of his maturation process. But Golden Boy, I recall, they put him in with some rugged, awkward, hard-punching pressure fighters. A guy named Jonathan Okendo was one of them. And Rene Alvarado. Not like a pressure fighter like Pitbull. That's going to be real hard pressure coming in low. But he's been in there with strong, physical, durable pressure fighters. And going 10 rounds with those guys,
And he's handled them.
And here's the question: is he better than he was when he fought Herring?
No question.
Right. And Herring's good, and it was competitive.
24 years old.
Yeah. He was considerably
My
younger.
question to you, Max.
Yeah.
You're the history expert. Well, we have two history experts now.
Yeah.
But, three maybe.
You're the
But
only one who
I'm the
knows
only-
nothing about history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yes.
But look, I don't think there are many examples. Maybe you could think of some of guys like Roach who were seen as solid fighters, and then they step up to the elite level, and then they stay there.
No, that's actually not right. Throughout boxing history is littered with examples of good fighters who were technically good in everything, who maybe didn't do any one thing so spectacularly that people were high on them, who didn't get a push out of the amateurs for whatever reasons, extenuating circumstances. Here's one that comes to mind: James Toney. James Toney was a good technical fighter. He was a better puncher than Lamont Roach, obviously, but he was a huge underdog against Michael Nunn.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting his ears boxed off all night.
And you could see why, because he was losing those fights.
He was losing, because Michael Nunn was spectacular.
I say
People
Vernon
forget.
Forrest is one of those guys, too.
I would say Winky Wright.
Winky Wright
He just looked as a solid technician.
Yeah, I think Winky Wright, to be fair to Mike,
Winky against regular guys.
But Winky was considered. There's more fanfare about him than Lamont Roach.
At what point are we talking about Winky? Winky's a Hall of Famer.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Before Winky shared the ring with Shane Mosley and Felix Trinidad, he was looked at as, in Vargas, he was looked at as a solid title holder.
Dude, Freddie Pendleton. Freddie Pendleton had a bunch of losses early, and then it turns out, actually, he's really good. Yeah. He just needed opportunity, a little push behind him, some resources.
It's happening, but it's not the most common thing.
It's not, but Lamont Roach, because of, I think, Doug, you made the point best, because of the fact that when you watch him fight, he's actually a very well-rounded technical fighter.
Yes, he is.
He has a chance.
Yes.
He has to do it, but he has a chance to fit into that category.
Yes.
Guys, this is really a stacked card. I mentioned it. The #1 ranked junior lightweight in the world, O'Shaquie Foster, is taking on the #4 ranked featherweight, Stephen Fulton, who's coming up in weight to take on Foster. Is Fulton biting off more than he can chew? With a bigger fighter in Foster, who's also, I love this phrase, Copp, got those twitchies, man. Like Foster's he's not just, there are some fighters who are just regular kind of good fighters. I think Fulton is a little bit better technically, but Foster is a dude who's actually quite talented,
and technical himself
and
too,
and technically good. I don't know. I just think Fulton's bag looks a little deeper to me.
Yes,
but we'll see. But man, to move up and weight and fight a guy like Foster.
No, Fulton has a lot of dog. We knew he had a lot of dog in him, right, when he went to Tokyo to fight Inoue. So
he got demoed by Inoue.
But no shame in that.
A lot of people going into that fight were like, let's see if Inoue can beat.
Right. And look, Fulton, very accomplished fighter. But you're right, Foster, he's underrated. I would call him an athletic boxer puncher. He can move in there, he could punch, and he's kind of been under the radar a bit because he's never
part of the reason Foster's not even better is because he's not afraid about the puncher part.
No, he's not at all. And one thing I think that's interesting here, right? I'm told this is going to be Foster's 3rd training camp he's finishing now, because this fight was originally supposed to be on the underneath Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach rematch. Was first looking at June, then they said no, August. Then it got canceled, and then they said, all right, here you go. It was supposed to be on the Fundora Thurman undercard in October, and then it gets moved to December.
Fights like this I get excited about because we're looking at 2 fighters that's not a little, but extremely technically sound. So you're going to get to look forward to some good film study. And the whole thing is just about who's going to play chess better. Max says something that he believes Fulton bag is a bit deeper when it comes to technicalities. I really don't know because a lot of things I see Shakur Foster do, it come from a good technical bag. Even when he get knockouts, I seen him disengage and get knockouts. I seen him come forward and get knockouts. And the same thing with Stephen Fulton. So it's a very good fight. Good fight.
Why do you think O'Shaquie struggled in his last couple of fights? Because he's won by split decision. I think. The first fight against the Brazilian,
what's his name?
Pacquiao. Most people thought that Foster won that fight.
He did.
I thought it was close.
Me too.
I wasn't scoring it, but just watching it on TV, I'm like, Foster won that, right?
It's a tough fight.
Olympic
You beat an Olympic gold medalist, you did something.
But why did he struggle against Pacquiao? Why did he, in the previous fight against Abraham Novo, why was that a struggle?
It came across like his timing was off, but the effort definitely was there. But then at times I think in that fight that, to me, he was overcommitting sometimes. He was making it seem like he was trying to go for the knockout even when the shots wasn't there. He was missing big. I never seen him missing that big.
You know what I'm
either.
thinking? I'm wondering, because I look at his frame, and I see a lightweight or a junior welterweight. I'm wondering if he's hit the wall on making
He's a big guy.
This is the reason I wonder if Fulton's bag just isn't a little deeper. There are some fighters who have that little bit of like electricity when they fight that is eye-catching.
Shane Mosley.
Right? Yeah, for sure. There are lots of guys like, and Foster has that.
Well.
But sometimes on the surface, their skill is very good. But when the other guy makes adjustments, they don't make adjustments quite the same way. So they have a lot of eye-catching, oh my God, did you see that moments?
Right.
But underneath, the fundamentals are not as good, and they'll lose to the guy with the better fundamentals because as they adjust, their bag isn't as deep. And that's what I suspect about Foster. That's I don't know if I'm right. I always hope I'm wrong about stuff like that because I want to see fighters do really well.
You believe Stephen Fulton is an opponent that can make him look probably minimum than what his bag appears.
I just wonder as the fight goes on, is there separation? You know, because the longer two guys are in there with each other, the more you see that. You see this, and this is how they have really interesting chess books that teach chess this way. You see the chess master first against a beginner, then an intermediate player, eventually against an expert. And a chess master versus an expert, the perfunctory stuff, the stuff on top, halfway through the game, they look the same. But the master has a plan. Everything they do is toward a plan. There's more, they have a deeper bag. And I wonder if that's not what we see here. And that's why Foster he's going to split decisions. When you look at the talent, your eyeballs jump out of your head, you know? But then why is he not getting the results?
Right.
Well, my question for you is for you, Malik. You're the trainer, former fighter. Again, Fulton and Foster were supposed to fight originally in August. Then it got moved to November. So this is their third full training camp, and really 3.5 training camps because they were talking about fighting in June. That's got to be tough on both guys, no?
Yes, and I would say wear and tear, especially as far as the training camps, because that mean they broke camp 3 different times. Nobody once you're into a fight and you're in training camp, once the fight get canceled, you get another date. No one just leave training camp and just forget everything. Period. So that means they continue to train. Their body probably hit a wall at times. They had to take off and had to do this and had to do that. So that right there, the restart of that can be very frustrating at times. But I think at the level that these guys are at, the revenue, the lights, the critique that they want to, overcome. I think that right there is the motivation, especially Stephen Fulton. From what I believe, I'm right about this. Don't quote me, guys. He's the only fighter to come from Philadelphia that become a 3-division weight champion or something like that.
If he wins.
If he wins.
Belt holder, brother. Belt holder.
I'm sorry.
I'm the champion of the world.
There you go again.
You know what? We should play it on the air because I saw it on Reels this week, and I sent it to you guys. Muhammad Ali being interviewed, talking about the difference between what we come to know as sanctioning body champions. They're the champion of the belt of the world. And world champions. And Ali showed his belt. He said, see this belt? And he talked about the lineage, how it got passed down from John L. Sullivan to him.
All the way down.
And what that means. These guys today, they're 4-division champions. No, they're 4-division belt holders. You know who's a 4-division champion? Terrence Crawford is a 4-division champion.
And it's funny you say that, Max, right? Because, growing up in the 90s, you'd always hear, well, why are they calling them the world champions? They only won MLB. No. The MLB is the premier league in the world.
Yeah.
The baseball.
Still is, but
it still is. So if
but back then, for sure.
But you know what I'm saying? People would say, well, why are they calling them world champions? You are the world champion of basketball if you win the NBA Finals.
I can't believe I was so smoothly going to do this thing, and then you stopped down to make it more confusing. You made it more confusing. Now, I don't even know if I believe it anymore. Maybe he was a 3-division champion. Last week, we caught up with the super middleweight contender, Diego Pacheco, and that interview is next. You weren't even here for this.
Exactly, so why do I care?
What's going on with you today? Inside the ring.
Out of South Central Los Angeles, California, Diego Pacheco. There's the body shot, right on time to the liver.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring, and we are joined now by undefeated, rising, super middleweight contender, Diego Pacheco. Diego, you are, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
You are 6'4", 168 pounds. You have a 79-inch reach. So you have a longer reach than Joe Louis, and you're taller than Muhammad Ali, but you fight at super middleweight, right?
Super middleweight.
How does that affect the way you fight?
I think it's just, using my God-gifted abilities to my advantage. Like you said, my height, I'm 6'4", one of the tallest guys in the division. I have great boxing ability. I'm able to move around, use my legs. I feel like I'm very athletic for a guy who's 6'4". I feel like I have everything that you need to have to be a world champion, which is good legs, good boxing IQ, good defense, and I have the heart of a warrior.
Yeah, in the heart of the world. Like, I'm not saying tall fighters can never fight on the inside. I remember watching Corrales Castillo, the best fight I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And you know, and Goosen is telling Diego, stay on the outside early in the fight. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Diego looked pretty good on the inside. So I'm not saying that you can't fight on the inside. But you sit here and lie and say that your height and reach means you box and move around. When I see you, because of that Warriors mentality, take the fight on the inside. And do you think when you do that, that negates your advantage, or is that just part of your game?
I feel like it's part of my game, you know, because one thing we work a lot on in the gym, we've been working on these past couple months, is, you know, obviously I'm very successful when I'm using my jab and sticking to it, double jabbing and things like that. But I have to show my opponents that when they get on the inside, it's going to be bad for them too. And I feel like that's how I break down my opponents. And anyone who gets in there with me is they expect me to be long and rangy, and I have success when I do that. But when I'm on the inside, I like going to the body. I like throwing those uppercuts and putting my punches together. So yeah, that's something that we work on in the gym.
And with your range and height, it come across like, yeah, you have an option. Like, yeah, I could be on the outside and I'll box you and I can win a fight, but a lot of times you take risks. And I think it's a good thing, but I think depending on who you fighting, do you think at times it could be a bad thing? Because I seen you fight against Steve
What
Nelson.
he's saying it's a bad thing. That's what he's a trainer going, why is he doing that? You're saying it's a bad thing. The fans are going, no, Diego, don't listen to him. But he's saying it's a bad thing.
Do you feel at times like, hold on, maybe I need to get on the back foot a little bit and use my God-given long limbs and, you know, get at this guy from a distance?
For sure. Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like depending on what my opponent is giving out and how dangerous it is to be on the inside is where I got to make those decisions, you know. And it's something that, you know, my coaches sometimes they'll tell me, like, you know, stick to your jab. Like, you don't got to be in there banging where he has a chance to also catch you, you know.
And you box heavyweights. You box your brother. He's a heavyweight.
For sure, yeah. I boxed my brother. I mean, I done thousands of rounds with David Benavidez and Subriel Matias. A bunch of great fighters that I've had the luck to be in there with, you know, and learn from. So, you know, I'm very grateful with my journey so far, and I feel like the best is yet to come.
Dougie could tell you that's the thing about the Southern California gyms, right? On the one hand, you get to be really, really good because of the quality of sparring. Right. On the other hand, the number of Mexican and Mexican-American fighters in Southern California gyms and the style that whole country values means you will be learning how to fight on the inside, right?
They're going to test your mettle. They're going to test your toughness. And I understand you've been training or sparring at Manny Robles' gym. You're Ring Magazine's #5 rated super middleweight contender. Manny Robles trains the #6 ring rated super middleweight, and that's Jose Armando Resendez. And I heard you've done some sparring with him for this camp.
Yeah, for sure. We've been sparring the past couple weeks, and they got a lot of other great fighters in there. You know, Bohachek, Terrell Guache.
Yeah, that's a savvy veteran.
Yeah, and there's a couple other guys in there as well that are giving me good work. You know, I'm in there sparring 12 rounds and really just, you know, doing my best every single sparring, trying to get ready for this fight December 13th.
Hey, hot, real quick though, before I ask my real question, but how was that with your brother when y'all sparring? Like, he hit you too hard. Like, how was that?
Honestly, there was a lot of times where my dad had to separate us.
His brother, a big boy.
Yeah,
my brother's a big dude.
I'm 3 years older than him, but he's a lot heavier than I am. So he's a heavyweight. So it kind of evened out. You know, he's always been strong and heavy, and I've always been athletic and faster. So, you know, I feel like I give him the best looks when it comes to guys who move and box.
Yes, I think it's beneficial for both of you.
Exactly. And then he gives me a look of a heavy guy who's coming forward and trying to bang on the inside with me. So, yeah, it's great work. And yeah, I remember there was a time where my dad wasn't letting us spar anymore. But we got a little older, and we kind of like both were like, all right, we got to help each other and get better.
Speaking of training, Jose Benavidez Sr. has mentioned recently that he's not going to be training you for your upcoming fight against Sajo, against Kevin Lele Sajo. Why not?
It was a decision I made, you know, when I was 21. You know, obviously I grew up, born and raised here in LA. When I was 21, I decided that I needed to make a change. I needed to go somewhere else. You know, it was just the things around me, the people around me, and you know, just a lot of things that I felt were kind of holding me back a little bit. So I decided I went up to Seattle for 3 years. I lived in Seattle for 3 years, and I had a baby there. My wife was with me. Nice. And I just thought it was the right time for me to come back. Yeah. I think it was time for me to come back to LA. And
how many fights y'all had together?
We had about like 9 or 10.
Had a few fights.
Good.
Like
Learned a lot?
10. Yeah, I learned a lot. Like I said, I did thousands of rounds with Benavidez and sparring.
So was this at all, was the switch at all, because you're looking, sometimes the feeling is a fighter feels like he's gotten as much as he can out of a certain situation. Other times, after a bad performance, a fighter's ego kind of uses that as an excuse, right? Now, you're undefeated, so it's not an excuse because you just lost a fight.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've gotten what you can and it's time to grow in other ways, or is it strictly a geographical thing?
No, yeah, I felt like my time up there was done. I feel like I did learn a lot. I'm very grateful for the opportunities and the training and everything that I did up there. But I just felt like it was time for me to start my own team.
Right.
I felt like obviously that's Team Benavidez, and they have going on what they have going on, and I feel like it was time for me to
I see what you're
start
saying,
Team
man. You're
Pacheco.
trying to big dog too.
You take care of your own career.
Yeah. I got it.
I think of the next crop of superstars, everybody can say that you are that next crop of superstars. You have a big fight coming up, and I know we never want to look over any opponent. But what is that fight that you think is going to put you to that superstar level? We asked David Benavidez this question. We asked all these other guys. Even Crawford. Crawford, as much as he's done in this game, it took a Canelo to say, okay, he is elite. What's that next fight you think is going to put you to that superstar level?
Drop a name.
In my opinion, the fights that I would like is Jaime Munguia, Shiraz, and obviously Canelo.
I like that Shiraz.
But Shiraz is another great fighter who I feel is in a great moment in his career, which me and him fight would be amazing for the fans. The fans would love it.
You'd be fighting somebody your size.
He told you too, right?
Yeah, he's tall as well.
And a UK star.
Yeah, and when I fight tall guys, man, I usually I feel so comfortable going to the body and going on the inside and just doing those things. So my dad always tells me he likes when I fight guys that are about my height because he just feels that I look a lot more comfortable.
You don't have to do the reaching to get down to the body, right?
Exactly.
That's a good fight.
So you got the fight with Sergio coming up in a few weeks on DAZN. Now, I'm again not to look past Sergio, but it has been said by actually Christian Mbili, who fought, if you could say, an impressive draw on the Canelo Crawford undercard. That fight was incredible, and Mbili looked. Martinez had the kind of style you would think, well, he's probably going to upset Mbili because Mbili's going to come right at him. But Mbili is so determined and so physically strong that they fought to a standstill. Christian Mbili said, you pulled out of a scheduled fight with him. What's your side of the story?
We never had a scheduled fight. No one told me about it. I didn't know we had a scheduled fight. It was brought up to me that it was a possibility for us to fight. And I was all in on fighting Mbili, and Eddie Hearn and the people who I have running my career kind of just decided that it wasn't the right time for that fight.
So not a scheduled fight, but it was going to purse bids,
yes,
or it was going to purse bids?
It was mentioned that it was a possibility that WBC wanted to make that fight. For one of their belts. I can't remember exactly which one.
One of their belts.
Yeah, I don't know which one. I don't remember exactly which one it was. But they wanted to schedule that fight, and they wanted me to go to Canada, and they basically wanted me to be a B-side fighter. They wanted to treat me like a B-side fighter going into the talks. So Eddie Hearn was kind of just like no, you're not a B-side fighter, and we don't have to take this fight. Those guys are 30-some. You're 20. I was at the time 23.
Yeah.
These guys need those fights now. You're 23 years old.
But when you were asked about who would you like to fight, you say Munguia, which is, I would think that's a very winnable fight for you and a fun fight and you could sell it. Same thing with Shiraz. There's money behind Shiraz, and he's an excellent young fighter. And you guys can, his draw that he should have lost notwithstanding, but you can see he can fight. You guys are both tall and skilled. And then Canelo obviously is the money fight. Those are all commercial fights. But I bring up Mbili because I noticed you did not mention Mbili, who is not as commercial as those guys.
Exactly.
But if I was a fighter and I saw the Martinez fight, I don't want to fight Mbili. How do you feel about an eventual matchup with that guy?
I would love to fight Mbili and Lester Martinez and any of those other guys in the division. But his question was which fight do I think would make me a superstar.
That's true.
And
We want to be there.
Sharp
for the money's
counterpunch.
at.
Yeah.
That's my money at, baby. Come on
First of all, you see that counter punch sticking on his feet. He got me right. I walked right into it. He's right.
First
You're
of
right.
all,
That's
That's slick, huh?
no doubt.
So and that was another reason. Like, and Billy, no one really knew who Billy was when
Especially until
they
that
were
last
presenting
outing.
that fight.
Yeah.
Exactly. After this last fight, then people kind of knew who he was now. But at the time when they were talking about me fighting, it was like nobody really knew who he was. If we made the fight here, like it had to be like in a theater or something. It was not even a big fight. So it really didn't make sense at the time. And that's the reason it didn't happen. But I would love to fight him, Billy. I have no problem getting in that
That's what
ring
I'm
with
looking for. I
him.
just want to make sure.
It got to make sense.
Down the line.
You got to say that.
Do you think your new opponent, do you think him and anybody else you fought have anything in common? He's a pressure guy. You can tell he's coming to fight. He's not like it in Billy, but he come across like he depend on a lot of his strength. Anybody
Sajo?
Sajo. Anybody on your resume that you feel as though that competitively can, like, you kind of can compare to him?
You know, early in my career, you know, I fought a lot of guys who were a lot shorter than me and were just trying to come forward.
I think Steve Nelson was kind of
Stephen
trying
Nelson
to go
was one of the
forward.
guys. I saw a guy, Sean McCalman. He was also, you know, trying really hard to get on the inside and make the fight uncomfortable for me. But you know, and there's been a lot of guys like Charles McCumbee. You know, we saw what he did with Caleb Plant.
Yes.
But I just feel like when you're in there with me, it's just I make it hard for you to do that.
Different.
You know what I mean? I make it hard for you to do that and like I said, if you try to come in, I'm gonna make you run into some shit.
That's that price you gotta pay.
I think you're used to that style, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Being
But
brought up in
6'4"
Yeah, but
against
also
the
being
guy
brought
who
up
can
in Southern California.
100% against
Used
the
to
guy who
aggressive
can punch
cats.
to the body. How do you defend against that? But coming up in SoCal, exactly, you got to be used to it.
And then also as an amateur boxer, I boxed a lot in Mexico. So obviously
you
the
said
guys
so
were
much
shorter
of
than
that,
me.
yes.
So the guys were trying to pressure me, and I just kind of learned how to deal with that and really make them pay for it.
What's your favorite punch?
My favorite punch?
Because usually, watch is not the jab.
Besides my jab,
thank you.
say my left hook to the body.
Okay.
Do you, like Devin Haney, we just watched Devin Haney fight Brian Norman, and he's trying to make this fight look easy, right? And
First
in a
half
sense,
of the fight, anyway.
In a sense, he made it look easy. Do you make this fight look easy?
Yeah, for sure. I'll make it look easy.
Boxers they be knowing.
I'll make it look easy, and I think I'm gonna get him out of there for sure.
Yeah, you got to close the show.
Yeah, got to.
All right.
Real quick, can you dunk?
Yeah,
Because
I
you
can
walk
dunk.
there at 6'4". I'm thinking like, man, you look tall. At TV, you look tall, but you look way taller in person, so you can dunk.
Yeah, I could dunk, and when I was younger, like high school, I was able to do like 360s and like backward, like behind the back dunks and stuff like that. But now I ain't
athleticism is there.
I ain't played basketball in years because you know I used to love playing basketball. Like that's my second favorite sport, basketball. But I was always jamming my fingers.
Right. Trainers
and
don't
doing
like
stuff.
that.
My dad.
You gonna roll your ankle? Come
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
My dad used to whip
We
my
got a real
ass.
athlete on the desk, not just a boxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But-
And by the way, looks comfortable at the weight. At 6'4", you think, well, how long can you make 68? But you walk around, you told me you're like
looks
a buck
fighting
80,
weight.
buck 85, and you don't look drawn, which is the right range. So many weight bullies nowadays who are in the wrong division. You don't look drawn right now. You look healthy. So 68 is going to be you for a while.
Yeah,
huh?
not yet. My last couple fights, like fight week, I'm working out. No t-shirt, no sauna, nothing. Just sweating, just natural body.
That's
and that's how
real
I
healthy,
just.
yeah.
It's just something that like my dad taught me growing up. My dad growing up, he never made me cut weight as an amateur. Whatever weight you at, that's what you're gonna fight at.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I love
You
that.
love that old
Okay,
school
Bob.
stuff,
Okay,
100%.
Bob.
Love that. You weigh that?
Diego
Yeah.
Pacheco,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Diego, for joining us.
Yes.
And obviously, good luck in the rest of 2025. Heading into 2026, we'll be back with more Inside the Ring.
The Locker Room, the new home of DAZN's boxing content. All your big hitters, all in one place.
I am not going to stop until I am pulled off of this guy.
Daniel, don't disrespect me. Daniel, don't disrespect me.
More exclusive content than ever before.
Look at that blood. You remember what's coming.
Welcome to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I'm your host, Max Keller.
The Locker Room, only on DAZN, the global home of boxing.
Shakur Teofimo Lopez is one of the better finishers in boxing.
The winner of this is the leader of the new school, leader of the new generation.
Rolling, is that a knockdown?
Tio's the truth, I'm the truth.
Stevenson had him down. For the second time.
I'm gonna give you your first loss.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
I promise you you're not.
All right, bet.
Here comes Tio.
He's coming to win. I'm coming to win. I guarantee that.
I'm coming to conquer.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max, Malik, Mike, Doug. We are joined now by, I'm going to say it, that's right, Mike, a future Hall of Famer, Teofimo Lopez. Because you know what, Teofimo? We were talking about how many real two-division champions there have been in the history of boxing. Not guys who just had a belt here, a belt there. I'm talking about what Ring Magazine would consider real champions in the history of boxing in two divisions. So Doug and I are going back and forth, and we're cutting some guys some slack. Like, well, was he really two division? So far, we're at 18. Okay, like I don't think if it's 25 ever, if it's 24, it may not even be. You are one of them. And this fight, to me, against Shakur, feels like you skipped ahead to the winner's bracket fight, right? Because at the end of an era, the big fights are the dust settles here, the two guys left standing. And it could have easily been you and Shakur, but it's happening now, in your primes, in the middle of both having great careers. So why is this fight happening now?
The reason why this fight is happening is because we want it bad. We want to be number one, in boxing, so to speak. He's coming for my crown at the, super lightweight division. And honestly, nevertheless, it's all about the fans.
Who has a better resume between you two guys, do you think?
Man, I'll tell you again, honestly, it doesn't matter until we hang up the gloves. I think that we still have such a long, depending how well we do with our health, we got a long career ahead of us, man. So this is just something for everybody for 2026. We started off with a bang, and we go from there.
Tio, what's up, champ?
What's up?
I would consider you, out of you and Shakur, I would consider you the more explosive, possibly the more speed concerning like getting to the target quicker. But I haven't seen you really get the type of knockouts that made the fans appeal to the whole package and the whole system of you. Are you training?
You mean at 140 pounds compared to 135? Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
in comparison.
Yeah.
Are you training for a knockout? Are you training to do something to not just beat Shakur, but to beat him in grand fashion? And when I say grand fashion, I mean going for the knockout.
Well, I think that the whole thing is the Bible of boxing really is that if you look for the knockout, you won't get it. I think really it's just all about setting the good pace early in the beginning rounds and then going from there, setting that tone. I think that I don't see him going those 12 rounds. This is his first time moving up to 140. A lot of these guys could say a lot of things about me not knocking them out or whatnot, but they don't come and try to fight me after they feel this power. So it's for a reason. It carries. It does carry. I mean, I had a good showing with Arnold Barboza. He was number one, my mandatory, and he was too hesitant trying to commit to punches. So I think that it's just something that's going to be a rude awakening for Shakur.
Hey, Doug, you hear that? He said the Bible of boxing. What else is called the Bible of boxing? Ring Magazine. And he's a two-division,
Yeah,
Ring Magazine champ.
Great ambassador for those championship belts as well.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm very big on those things. I claimed 2 weight divisions, 2 Ring Magazine belts just at 25, and I'm 28 now. I've been defending my belts now. I feel great, and then most importantly, this will be my 4th title defense with the Ring and the WBO junior welterweight world division.
Mm-hmm. Tio, Mike Coppinger here. Great to see you. Look, first off, I'm surprised by the odds. I see in the odds about Shakur Stevenson minus 350 favorite. I don't agree with that. I think this is a very tough fight to pick. But for you, right, it seems like every time the odds are stacked against you, every time people are picking against you, whether it's the Lomachenko fight, people said it was too soon for you, or the Josh Taylor fight, when there seemed to be chaos swirling around you in your personal life, and that was one of your best performances. Do you like this position?
That I'm someone that, is all about against all odds. I've been like that since me winning the 2015 U.S. Olympic trials and didn't, have my spot for the Olympic berth and to represent Team USA in 2016 Olympic Games. I think my whole thing's always been that way, so even Richard Comey, when I won my first world title back in 2019 at 22, against the champion himself, a lot of the odds were always against me. And I think that's when I perform my best. And I look forward to doing that again. All this has led me to now, this moment in time. So I can't wait to really execute it. And can the odds go even higher, make it 4-1, 5-1? I want to break the bank.
Gonna bet on yourself?
I damn well should be, actually. I should be.
Teo, you talk
I should
about
be.
defying the odds as an amateur in 2015 and 2016. You and Shakur are the same age. Shakur, you guys were both at the 2016 Olympics, so you guys had to have been aware of each other. What was your impressions of Shakur Stevenson as an amateur?
Well, I first encountered with Shakur back in, I think, 2011 or 2012 Junior National Golden Gloves. Standout kid for sure. Had a lot of charisma, had a lot of swag. New York, New Jersey style. You could definitely see that. I ended up making it to the finals, didn't get the win. And then he got his win, got the glory on that in a different weight class. But he cheered me back up. I was crying in the back. And then there was another time, 2015, National Golden Gloves. I won it, and he didn't. He was down, he was crying, and we just picked him back up, But nevertheless, now it's come to the point in the pros where we're gonna face each other, and there's no remorse in this one.
Tia, did y'all, when y'all was coming up in the amateurs at all during that time, did y'all so happen to spar each other? Because I know, usually if you're in the weight class above and the weight class under, they usually have the guys spar each other. Have you and Shakur ever shared the ring with each other, during sparring?
Yeah, we did. I think I was 17. I think I was 17 at the time. He was fighting for the World Series of Boxing, I think it was, something in that nature for the amateurs. It was semi-pro. And I think he was getting ready that week. We did honestly, I'll say we did more of a sizing rather than a full combat sparring because it was only 3 rounds. So same thing with fellows like, Gervonta Tank Davis. I think it's really just sizing. So it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out this time around when we're at the pinnacle of our career.
Y'all both basically from New York City. Who's going to do the most ticket sales for this thing?
Brooklyn, baby. Brooklyn all the way.
All right, man.
All the way, man. All my people go real hard for me. So I'm definitely going to be out there represent and look forward to see where we land and what venue we'll be fighting at.
Teo, earlier in the show, we discussed a quote from Terrence Crawford, who's been training with Shakur Stevenson. Obviously, they're good friends. And he said that, quote unquote, Shakur is going to beat the F out of Teofimo Lopez. I'm just quoting you there. Teo, we know that you've had your problems with Crawford too. You guys got into it a couple of times last year, yelling at each other. Is there a little extra oomph for you in this fight, knowing that Crawford is in Shakur's corner?
No, not at all. Define the odds, man. Everybody be on that side. I think that they all have some sort of group plan amongst each other. Even with Keyshawn Davis, they all think that they're going to conquer boxing as friends. I don't think there's friends in this sport. I think Malik Scott would also agree to me on that part. I don't think this should be friends. This is a fight business. This is not about, hey, I want you to conquer this division, I'll conquer that division. We'll all be friends and we'll be champions. This is not the Klitschko brothers era. So whatever Crawford and Shakur want to do, Crawford ain't going to be fighting for Shakur. It'll be Shakur in the ring with Teofimo.
Yeah, Teo, I'm really glad to hear you say that. Because what is this? I've never heard of this before up until a couple of years ago. Now this guy's saying, I can't fight this guy. We're too good of friends. We're in the same training camp. What happened to prize fighting and fighting for the biggest stakes and the biggest names and the most amount of money?
I think the whole thing is that's the purpose of this, right? That's why I'm a lone soldier. I really roll dolo a lot of the times. I don't really make friends with the fighters, in any weight divisions, frankly. I'll greet them, speak with them a little bit, ask them about their training. But when it comes to it, competition is competition, man. This is competition and currency, and you can't be friends in this game. I don't see it. I think that's what makes them soft. It's what makes our era a little bit fragile. So I think the guys like myself that still carry that with the heart of a champion and holding the Ring Magazine world title, I think that maybe we have a different form of looking at it and make boxing great again.
There have been fights that have not happened because guys were friends, by the way. Kenny Norton and Joe Frazier, both Eddie Futch, trained by Eddie Futch, were friends and therefore never fought. Would have been a good fight, right? But it's an interesting thing that stablemates in boxing, traditionally, when those guys eventually fight occasionally, you get one of two things, Teo. Either you get really, really boring sparring matches, or you get some crazy kind of brutality, like they always like I think Maurice Blocker and Simon Brown.
Beautiful.
That was a brutal fight.
And they were friends.
And they were. Is there something about the familiarity though? You told the story just now about you each consoling each other after losses in the amateurs where one or the other of you was crying and being consoled by the other guy. So there is that. You are stablemates under the same promoter for many years. I'm sure there's a sense at one point or another where, oh, he's getting pushed instead of me, or this. Is there some of that going on in this fight?
No, a lot of people don't like me and what I do. I could care less though. I am who I am. I'm crooked like my smile. So it's just who I am, man. I think that when it comes to these guys, I mean, they're trying to bring a lightweight to take over Teofimo, and that's not gonna happen. And then we'll see what happens, man. Maybe I defend it another time. Maybe I move up. There's a vacant Ring magazine at the welterweight division, so
true.
You never know, man.
Oh,
and look, Ring magazine is really the profound reason of why world champions come into this, why boxers come into this, is to claim that alongside with these other sanctioning belts. I look at the Ring as the Rocky Balboa belt, and as a kid, I used to shadow box watching the film. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Ring magazine means you're the champion of the world. The other belts means you're the champion of a sanctioning body. And you, Teofimo Lopez, are a 2-division actual champion of the world. There haven't been that many in the history of boxing. Always good talking to you.
Yeah, last thing though, Crawford, not Crawford, but I'm gonna get to him later on. When
Crawford, you want Crawford?
160, yeah.
You're going to go up to 160. Here's the one thing about Teofimo Lopez, guys. You have to take what he says seriously.
Absolutely.
Because just remember what you were thinking before the Lomachenko fight or even the Taylor fight.
Yep.
He won both of those fights.
And Teofimo wanted Boots Ennis at 47. He pushed hard for that fight.
You were the one who pushed for Boots Ennis. By the way, I've tried to say goodbye already, but while we're on the topic, Shakur said you are delusional in a good way. In other words, you have a sense of yourself, according to him, that you think you're better than you are, but actually that helps you. It helps you rise to the level. What do you think about that? What Shakur said about you?
He's inaccurate because delusional is when it's not real. It's real. It's just what it is, man. I am who I am. I know what I am, and I think that's why I look at it like this. I may get something out of it, but Crawford sent out one of his little guys to come and finish the job, and I think that's not gonna work. I'm still gonna be here, and if he's still gonna be in boxing, I would love to face him right after. He is the guy. He is the man of boxing, and I think if he could go up 3 weight divisions to fight Canelo Alvarez, why can't Teofimo go up 2 weight classes or 3 to face Terence Crawford?
Teo said he sent his little
First
mans
first,
after him, and he's going after the final boss. He's going after the final boss.
Earlier, Teo said that there was no extra motivation with Crawford. Now we see the truth.
Yeah. All right, Teo, always great talking to you.
Yeah. Pleasure, guys. And y'all stay tuned, man. January 31st, it's a showdown. Let's go.
Bless you, bro.
Right.
Best of luck. That's one we're really looking forward to. Thanks, Teo.
Pleasure.
A plot twist in the Subriel Matias failed PED test story. Mike Coppinger has the info. This is Inside the Ring. Welcome back to Inside the Ring. It is time now for our informant to sing like a canary. And remember, Mike, your boss is sitting right here, right? So this better be good. This better be good. What do you got? Well, Subriel Matias, right? Tested positive. What do we got?
Yeah, Subriel Matias, he tested positive for the performance-enhancing drug ostarine, but that PED test showed that his levels were below the New York State Athletic Commission levels for ostarine, which is 0.1. He was under 0.1. So right now, I spoke to the New York Commission, and they are poised to allow him to fight. They're going to undergo some extra drug testing, and he passes all the tests, and they said he's been very cooperative. I expect this fight to go forward. Now, Ryan Garcia, of course, our very own, he also had a fight in New York, and he was 60 times the legal limit. Right now, Matias is below the limit in New York, so I don't think there's going to be any issue whatsoever, and I think that fight's going to happen as planned January 10th. That junior welterweight title defense WBC against Dalton Smith, but the WBC here too will have their say.
Why is there any threshold for ostarine, right? Like, why is there? Could it be in your system just naturally somehow?
No, it can't be. So WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, right? VADA, who does the testing, stay along here. VADA does the testing. They don't adjudicate. WADA adjudicates usually. And WADA does not offer any threshold, any detectable level of ostarine to be in your system. Ostarine helps you burn fat. It helps you recover faster. But I think this is to guard against contamination. Maybe, you took a different supplement and it happened to be in there and there are trace levels.
I understand.
Maybe I think they could be arguing it doesn't give you any real benefit in a fight. I'm not sure about the truth of that, but I think he's going to be okay to fight.
What's the latest with Rolly Romero?
Rolly Romero, it seems everyone wants to fight him right now. He's a title holder in a glamour division, 147. People don't seem to fear him, although I thought he was pretty good against Ryan Garcia. And I'm told that right now his return is going to be as early as March, they're looking at. And the Pacquiao fight is still in the mix. Pacquiao's in the mix for a lot of things, right? He was talking about maybe do that Mayweather fight. That's still on the table as well. Could fight Rolly. Told so far that they haven't been able to agree on money for that. And then you have Bill Haney calling for a fight with Devin Haney and Rolly Romero. That would make a lot of sense to me.
Makes business sense.
Makes a lot of business sense, especially if you pair it with what's supposed to be the Ryan Garcia Barrios fight February 21st. But right now we're still sorting all that out. And then also the WBA, right? Rolly is the WBA title holder. There is a mandatory looming with Giasov, very quality fighter with Matchroom, with Vadim Kornilov. He's trying to press his mandatory status, so he doesn't want to step aside.
Giasov, that's on paper that looks like a loss for a lot less money. What are the odds that happens?
I mean, if Giasov, is steadfast and says, I'm not taking the step-aside money, and it's not so much money. Look, I'm always a believer in just taking a title shot, right? You don't know what happens.
Right.
There's some guys that sit around and wait for years.
No, I'm saying that's on paper that looks like a loss for Rolly.
Right, but I'm saying Rolly might not have a choice because Rolly's leverage and his bargaining chip right now is the title.
His leverage is the win. His leverage.
Pacquiao, he'll get stripped of the WBA title, right?
If the WBA.
But wait a minute, guys. Are we arguing here that the strap, that a sanctioning body strap, is economically worth enough that it's worth like keeping that strap where you have to not only pay a sanctioning fee but fight a very dangerous fighter for a fraction of what you would otherwise get? That's worth it instead of riding the win against Ryan Garcia is really what he's riding, not the belt.
Right? To ride that has months later anyway, right? I feel like he's lost some of the heat of that, but yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Well, no, I was just going to say, listen, if Pacquiao's, if his motivation to fight Rolly is to win a world title at this advanced age, what is he, 46 years old? If that's why he wants to fight Rolly, then yeah, you got to hold on to the belt.
Right, to make a Pacquiao
if he just wants to fight and he wants like a name young opponent or whatever, get rid of the belt.
No, Pacquiao
because
wants
I think
title.
Giasov is all
Pacquiao
wrong
wants
for
a
Rolly
title.
Romero.
Yeah, but you're never going to get the Pacquiao.
title.
There's a good chance you don't get the Pacquiao if you have to make the mandatory in this case.
Now, sometimes there's a rule. If he makes a fight with Devin Haney has a belt himself.
Right.
Sometimes some of the sanctioning bodies, if it's a unification bout, they'll hold off on a mandatory. They'll say, well, you will make the mandatory wait as long as it's a unification bout.
And it's for sure happening.
Some will. It's hard to keep track of who does what and who follows the rules, right? But in any
they follow
case,
the rules when it makes them money.
when it makes them money.
Remember that.
And in this case, Pacquiao, I am told there still needs to be more money for Pacquiao to even fight Rolly. So they need to find enough money for Pacquiao, then they need to find enough money for Giasov.
Yeah, I mean, Right. Or if the logic here is that Pacquiao, like Rolly can't land a Pacquiao fight, which he would otherwise land for so much money that he needs to keep that belt because that's the only way he lands that fight. And in order to land that fight and keep that belt, he has to go through a guy who he's likely to lose to. Then that argument doesn't work.
Right.
He's got to go to Haney.
Bam Rodriguez, guys. Bam
Exactly,
Rodriguez
I go to.
said he wanted to fight Naoya Inoue after his KO win over
Yes.
Puma Martinez. He wants to go
Yes,
right
Bam.
to the monster.
Yes.
Mike, what's the latest with Bam?
All right, so get ready, Max. We have more sanctioning body shenanigans at play here as well.
great.
So I spoke to Bam's trainer, the great Robert Garcia, also manages Bam. He's done a really good job navigating him. Bam's going to be a free agent soon. That was his last fight of his deal with Matchroom. But look, as Robert Garcia said already publicly, they're going to try to get a renewal done with Matchroom. Matchroom has obviously done a great job pushing Bam. He's a smaller weight guy everyone's talking about. But first, they were looking at, we have the Ring 5, right? Night of the Samurai, December 27th in Riyadh. And we have the great, I shouldn't say the great, but he is a pretty great fighter, right? Kenshiro Teraji fighting against Willie Baldo Garcia. Teraji's going for another title in another weight class. And Robert Garcia told me that Bam wants the winner of that fight. Now, here's the catch, right? That would make Bam the undisputed champion at 115. He's already the Ring Magazine champion. The winner of that fight is going to have a mandatory due against Andrew Maloney. And Bam has no interest in waiting around for Maloney to fight the winner of Teraji and Willie Baldo Garcia. So if they cannot sort that out and get step-aside money, then they're going to go right to 118 and fight for a title there.
You know what I love about Bam saying he wants the monster?
Takuma makes all
What I love about Bam saying he wants the monster is like when Turkey brought up Atama had that great win, he looked spectacular in a step-up fight, and Turkey Al-Sheikh went immediately to saying, hey, Moses Atama and Usyk, right? And people were saying, well, that's too soon. Yes, in a way, but in a larger way, that's the fight that was on people's minds because when you look at Atama, it looks different. And so even if it's not the very next fight, let's start getting into it. When we watch Bam, that's who everyone was thinking about. We can pretend, it's not fair, you're jumping up too much. That's who we were thinking about.
Well, Bam is in luck because Naoya Inoue's brother, Takuma Inoue, just won another title in 118, his second reign of 118, right, Doug?
Yes.
And that was last week against Tenshin Natsukawa. It was a really good fight. So
Really good fight, really good win.
Yeah, if you're really going to win, Natsukawa was the favorite. So if you're Bam and you don't get, your shot at undisputed against the winner of Teraji, should be Teraji, he's a big favorite. You can fight Takuma Inoue and start building that storyline.
That's the storyline. Absolutely. Revenge of the brother.
There's an expression, game recognize game, or real recognize real, right? But in this case, it's all of us looking at Bam and the monster and saying, that's real and that's real. That's game and that's game. That's just different.
And you know who else
from
is real?
everybody else.
Nakatani.
Nakatani is excellent.
Real.
And Nakatani could beat either guy, theoretically.
Yes.
But there's something about Bam and the monster that's what people
When you
It
see
looks
them,
different.
they're just head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah.
Separation.
We talk about heavyweights, and you and I were talking about Jalalov. He's 6'7", and he's a southpaw, and he's got the gold medals and
Bit
all that
slow.
stuff. But even if Jalalov were to beat Atama, right? Jalalov and Usyk is not what we want to see.
No.
We want to see Atama and Usyk.
Yes.
We want to see the monster and Bam.
Big facts.
Apologies to Nakatani, who's excellent. Coming up, Malik takes us inside the lab to break down Haney Norman Jr. We discuss that next on Inside the Ring.
The Locker Room, the new home of DAZN's boxing content. All your big hitters, all in one place.
I am not going to stop until I am pulled off of this guy.
Daniel, don't disrespect you are. Daniel, don't disrespect yourself.
More exclusive content than ever before.
Look at that blood. You remember what's coming.
Welcome to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I'm your host, Max Keller.
The Locker Room, only on DAZN, the global home of boxing.
What's up, guys? Coach Malik Scott here. And last week, we had one of the most highly anticipated fights in the welterweight division. Brian Norman Jr. was defending his title against Devin Haney. A lot of people have things to say about Haney's performance as he was victorious, but here we're going to bring him into the lab so I can show you some of the things he did in good detail from my perspective. The up jab, one of my favorite jabs. But what Haney did good here, as you can see here, the up jab came from literally his knee, not his hip, his knee, and Brian had no answer for it. He was there in the shell guard. A lot of times, Haney took advantage of that. So why is the up jab important? Because it doesn't come from a standard position. As you can see again, look at Haney's left hand. It's down under his hip, touching his knee, and it goes straight up. The punch have to come straight up, which means they have to start from down. Haney did a beautiful job there with the up jab. And once again, Brian Norman Jr. had no answer for it. It was the most important punch he did this night. Here he is again. This is what he did real good here. He gave you a step back here, pull back. Once he seen the target was there, Brian Norman Jr. went into the high guard. He went with the up jab again. Beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful. The punch continually came from the hip, and it was the up jab, and Bob Foster would be very, very proud of Devin Haney if he was here. Once again, the up jab, pull with the back foot, the center shot is there. Here is Haney again with the up jab. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. I thought he could have did more of it. He could have won this fight just with his up jab because Brian Norman Jr. had no answer for it. Beautiful work by Haney with the up jab. Here it is again. Lead hand down. Now here, what I love about this one is a lot of people think Haney was disengaging. He was. But at times, look at Haney. He's coming forward, backing the puncher up. But then when the puncher thinks he's stupid, Haney is intelligent. He say, I'm coming forward, but I'm coming forward to get you to engage. When Norman engaged, Haney went again with the up jab through the center. Beautiful work, beautiful work. He was going forward, went back and took advantage of the center. Lead hand down where the up jab come from as he's going forward. Brian Norman Jr. is ready to engage. Haney is intelligent with the back foot. So he say, I want you to engage. Got you, sucker, and got it with the up jab again. Beautiful work. It was the most important punch of the fight. Beautiful work by Haney. But like I said again, Bob Foster would be very proud, being so the fact he was a legend with the up jab. Again, this is very nice here. A double pump fake before the up jab. A double pump fake with the lead hand down. Once again, that made Brian Norman Jr. engage. The minute that he engaged, Haney took the small step back. Once he gets space, Brian Norman Jr. goes back into a high guard. Haney again. Up jab through the middle. It landed all night long. He was 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100 with this shot. Lead hand down with the double pump fake. Brian Norman Jr. comes forward. The minute that Haney got distance, you want to go into and put the up jab again through the center of the high guard. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Another thing that he did real good, it was so many different sequences that Haney did that really separated him in intelligent clinching. So a lot of people had a problem with this. I didn't mind it at all because what was it? It was intelligent. Why was it intelligent? Here, Brian Norman Jr. is coming with offense. Haney goes with the underarm, the underhook. Then he gets real violent with his left hip and then put the puncher on the rope to let him know, yeah, I'm coming up into your weight division, but I'm the bigger man here. Beautiful work. And Norman had problems because every time, then here it is again, beautiful. So here, Norman was coming with offense. Haney said, no, I'm going to tame you. I'm going to go with the underhook. I'm going to get real violent with my left hip. And then once again, he put the puncher or the so-called bigger man on the rope. And what did that do? That shut down the offense of Brian Norman Jr. There's nothing he could do with a good clinch game. Beautiful work. So Haney was on the up jab, he had a clinch game, and here, of course, we have to highlight the knockout, or not the knockout, the punch of the night, in my opinion. Brian Norman Jr. wasn't answering the phone, and Devin Haney learned from his fight against Ryan Garcia to answer the phone. So what do I mean by that? They both was hooking, but look where Haney right hand is, and look where Brian Norman Jr. right hand is. His hand was down, Haney's was up, and the better man got the best of the exchange. Beautiful work. It's always good to answer the phone. And speaking of answering the phone, I'm going to bring my friend and my coworker, Mike Coppinger, up here so I could give a pure example of the up jab again. I gave you guys the pull jab. Now, I'm going to use my friend and my coworker, like I said, to show you guys the up jab. So here, Mark, get into your stance. So the up jab, again, guys, it comes from the hip. Bob Foster, Devin Haney. This is a shot that comes from the hip. So if it's called the up jab, the only way it's going to land is it has to come up. And what is this punch good for? It's good for, hypothetically, get your hands up, Mike, again. This hand would be here. Say if your opponent is coming with the lead hook, the up jab would stop him. Say if your opponent is coming with the jab, the up jab would stop him. In Brian Norman Jr. case, he just had the high guard up. Get your hands on my go from there. Now just do the up jab through my high guard. Beautiful work. Appreciate you, Mike. And that was the up jab. Back to you, Max.
Malik, that's amazing how Mike Coppinger looks like John L. Sullivan when he put up your dukes. All right, guys. Why was this is one thing. I thought that was really good, Malik. But one thing that you didn't explain just then that I want to know. You kept talking about the up jab, how it was a thing of beauty. You broke that down well. Why was the up jab so effective? Is it Norman? He didn't have his elbows tucked. He was like, what was it?
Well, he was in a high guard, but I would call it what Norman was in was a passive high guard. He wasn't tight. His elbows wasn't tucked. So he just left the center.
So it's up.
He just
but easier to catch if it's coming here because you still have your hands here.
Yes,
but the hole is up.
Even if he closed up a little bit more, that up jab would hit forearms, that up jab would hit hand. But this just goes to show again, guys, I can't say it enough. The most important punch in boxing is the jab. So that means the most important punch you should be able to defend in boxing is the jab. So many fighters don't have good jab defense. And Brian Norman Jr., as heavy-handed as he is, he don't have good jab defense.
I'm nitpicking. I know I've been nitpicking Haney's performance. But the reason is because the first half of the fight, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to come on TV on Monday and be like, oh my God, Devin Haney, blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the fight, I'm like, nah, I can't. I can't do what I wanted to do because he stopped boxing in the second half of the fight. You brought, at one point, he made Norman initiate by feinting.
Yes.
You pointed this out. Mm-hmm. Then he takes that half step back, waits on the back foot. Now Norman's inside and he hits him, and then he comes forward and hits him with the up jab.
Yes.
What's wrong with the right hand counter there with some mustard on it?
Well, that's what we got the young kid coming, Tiger Johnson, for, because if you come forward to him, he's just not going to hit you with an up jab. He's going to hit you with a right hand too. There's times.
So it would be better if Haney were to do that a little bit more.
I would say those are the times that you're critiquing him on where you're saying he's not great because, and those are the moments you're talking about, because a young Floyd Mayweather was throwing that right hand. A young Miguel Cotto was throwing that right hand. Correct. They wasn't let chances go like that.
And finally, when you talk about intelligent clinching, and I agree, I think the examples you showed and was really interesting, how you said there was violence with the hip that was moving him around in the clinch. But if you, and also Norman was holding on himself. He was happy to clinch.
And sometimes Norman back on his heels.
Yeah.
What you want to do with the supposedly stronger.
Yes.
But Haney was initiating so many clinches, right? Whatever you're doing in the first half of the fight that's leading to success, why not keep doing that instead of clinching?
Yes, well, I believe also, too, Haney is still dealing with a little bit of the Ryan Garcia effect.
He's slowly kind of working through it.
Doug made it, you know what? All right, fine. I have to keep hearing that because you were right.
Keep giving him your 94 out of 100, Max. We good. Devin Haney going to be all right, baby.
I got Devin at a 94. It's an A, just not, a 97 or a 98.
Great fighter.
Fair.
Bill Haney, meantime, who has, I'm always very impressed, incredibly impressed with fathers who take their sons from nothing and build them into world champions. That is extremely
very
impressive.
Hard job.
And Devin Haney was world champion, right? Not just sanctioning body champion, he was world champion, Ring Magazine champion. And Bill Haney's been very vocal on social media about wanting Rolly Romero next for his son. He tweeted, Bill Haney did, Rolando Romero, your time is up. Do you still believe in that ugly, awkward boxing style, or are you just a comedian wearing a boxing outfit? Hey, Floyd, is Rolly really scared, or is he just not listening to you anymore? Don't get quiet now. We're looking for you. # Team Haney. What does that fight do for Devin, Doug?
It's a high-profile fight. I think Haney needs, especially if he's going to fight in the United States, he needs a dance partner that's going to move the needle. Because as bombastic as Bill Haney is, Devin isn't.
Devin's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
His peers say, he's a private school, a homeschooled kid, which is true. I think he should lean into that.
Still boxing everybody's ears off.
But Brian Norman was correct on this during the build-up to their fight, is that he steals lines from Floyd Mayweather. He hasn't really found his persona outside the ring. Not in a way that gets people excited, gets people talking. You put him in with somebody like Rolly, he doesn't have to talk that much.
Yes.
Rolly talks. Rolly just kind of has that attitude and that personality that is polarizing, and you need that. It's a risky fight in that Rolly is not just a puncher, but he's unorthodox. He's awkward, and sometimes those awkward, unorthodox punchers get the better of classically trained stand-up boxing.
Because the punch is not coming where you expect it, and if
Not
and when
playing
it
by the
does,
rules.
and the combination of the awkward with the punch means if and when the punch lands, because it's not coming where you're trained to defend it, it can really hurt.
Right. So think about Ricardo Mayorga over Vernon Forrest, or even in a different respect,
Maidana and Mayweather.
Maidana and Mayweather, or even Sergio Mora against Vernon Forrest. Mora, not your orthodox boxer. He wasn't a puncher, but he wasn't an orthodox boxer. So when you have a textbook technician against a guy who doesn't read, sometimes that guy, that illiterate guy, is actually more dangerous than an educated fighter.
Look, I like Devin Haney to outbox Rolly Romero.
So do I.
But I understand what Bill is doing here, Mike, because worst case scenario, he somehow loses to Rolly. You have that rematch potentially, right?
I will say this.
You're going to make twice as much money for fighting a guy who does not pose a lot of risk compared to other guys.
I'm predicting if Devin Haney fight Rolly, I'm predicting your 94 is going to go to an 82 for Devin.
Really? I thought you were going the other way.
If you think he was clinching Brian Norman, if you guys think he was moving against Ramirez, he's not going to stand in front of Rolly Romero. He's about to do it again. There's a certain type of style, I believe, that have to be put in front of Devin Haney for him to look like, we'll say how Georgie Benton used to say, having Pernell box in a good safety circle, not too far away, but close enough to make you miss it.
What style is that he needs in front of him?
When I think of that style, I think of Pernell and Pineda.
No, I'm saying, you said a certain style that Devin needs in front of him to look like that. Who is that guy? Because I would think Ramirez is that guy, but it wasn't.
Yes,
right?
yes,
that was also his first fight after the Ryan.
I know. I keep getting corrected on that by everybody. You guys are right. I have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Is Bill making a mistake? You think this is a bad matchup?
No,
for
I
this
think
son?
they're actually taking it because some guys win fights or win world titles and they already know the exact guy they're going to. And in this case, I look at it like they look at Rolly as food. They look at Rolly as food.
Yeah.
They look at him like a novice. He's wild. All he do is punch hard.
You're saying that's a mistake?
Awkward. It's okay.
You're saying that's a mistake?
On Haney and them, I think it's a good business move. They're taking a chance, but Rolly is heavy-handed. We'll see how the ball blows.
Over the weekend, Ben Whittaker, who we talked to last week on this very program, made his debut for his new promoter Matchroom against Ben Gavazi and scored a devastating first-round knockout with that.
He knows how to make a statement.
Yes, he took the trash out in grand fashion.
Given who Ben Whittaker is, silver medalist in the Olympics, rising star, is this a candidate for knockout of the year, even though it came against a guy who was overmatched?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a candidate. It's not going to win.
It's not right. Okay.
Yes,
but it's
not
a
a legitimate contender for knockout of the year, given who he was facing. And the Brian Norman KO of Jin Sasaki. Sasaki's a better fighter. That was a better knockout.
It was more violent at a higher level.
I would say no to that knockout for this, at least for the one punch. When I think about the knockout, I think of like a one-hitter quitter.
Right.
The hook was a little too effective. Right? It wasn't just like Lennox Lewis and Rahman. The left hand sets up the right hand and picks his head up a little and knocks him out. The hook already had him a little wobbly, and then the right hand was even more. But I think that first punch was too effective for me to give him like the one-hitter quitter knockout of the year credit. But it was a spectacular statement by a guy, Whittaker. Before we spoke to him, guys, I got the sense that he's flashy. He has a big personality. He's a guy some people love to hate. Like, let's see how good he is and, so on.
Yeah.
But once we spoke to him, he's more than all that. He's also a very likable guy.
Very likable guy.
He's charismatic in a way, I feel like, that can bring people in, not just have people rooting for him to lose. And that's a whole kind of different level of potential stardom, I think.
Yeah, and he's been watching Max Kellerman since he's been a young kid. Did that make you feel old?
That's true. Always makes me feel good to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That Max Kellerman on in the UK?
Yeah, apparently.
Maybe he's stealing my lines now.
What are your lines?
I said that I watched you growing up, remember?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yes, you did.
Max is getting old. He's forgetting now.
Making it about him. Coppinger making it about him. Last week, we rolled out a timed news segment so we can get to the rest of the stories we didn't get to earlier in the show because we start geeking out about boxing and going on tangents and such. Yeah. It's my fault. We will have 1 minute to discuss each story in what we call knockout news. First up, Jake Paul posted this photo of him with Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okolie. Jake's putting in the round sparring with some real heavyweights, guys. Does this change your opinion of him at all?
Not at all. I don't know how the work is going, but I know Lawrence Okolie. I'm very familiar with Jared Anderson from watching him. whoever the other guy was. I don't know if they're really able. I just can't imagine them like giving him A1 work. I just
know
don't.
Frank Sanchez.
Yes, absolutely. I know Frank Sanchez, but I can't imagine Frank Sanchez being able to really box Jake Paul really hard. They may be giving him a good look.
Yeah.
They may be working with him lightly, getting him ready for whichever way they can. But I just can't. Realistically, I can't see them giving him hard sparring. It wouldn't be fair.
I was taken with how small Jake looked next to those heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
He's
they
a
wouldn't even be
cruiserweight.
considered our biggest heavyweights nowadays. No, they're not like, you know what I mean?
Jake is a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Jake is a cruiserweight. I like it. I think it's a good look.
It's a very good
and
look,
that's what he
Doug.
thinks about first. He's a PR guy.
Very
He's a
good look.
promoter. Sometimes, though, guys bring in big-name sparring partners. They don't really use them. If you remember Oscar De La Hoya bringing in Edwin Valero before.
That's right.
They didn't spar.
That's the bell.
Not much.
You always know about the sparring stories.
He dribbled out the clock. You went past the bell. You didn't get a word in.
Didn't get a word in.
Ring Magazine champion Jai Opetaia takes on Hussein Sin-Cara.
Who is that?
This Saturday. So who is that exactly?
Who is that?
Therefore,
Mike
Opetaia,
knows.
who is, I think it's fair to say, the third greatest cruiserweight ever, right? Like, the division's been around since the mid-'80s, late 80s.
He's the man hiding in Zerto's closet.
Evander Holyfield won, or Holyfield and Usyk at the
they're
top.
1 and 2.
They're 1 and 2, and then
who?
Opetaia
Yeah, that's a good
probably,
question.
I would
Yeah.
say. Anyway, he's a minus 8,000 favorite, guys. That's 80 to 1. Is that worth at least a few bucks on Sakara?
No, it's not. I mean,
few bucks.
I
80
love
to
Jai
1.
Opetaia, one of my favorite fighters right now. Great action guy. Been in a lot of barn burners. It's time for him to move up to heavyweight after this. I know he's been wanting to unify the division. And look, we have the Badu Jack, Noel McCowan rematch, right? He can fight the winner of that fight. It's going to be in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks. But Zurdo Ramirez, I don't think he's going to fight Opetaia. I know Malik loves Zurdo, but I think Zurdo checks under the blankets, looks under the bed.
Who is this guy that Opetaia is fighting? And what's his record? Who is
From
these
Turkey.
people?
I
You
know
know
that.
who
Jai's
Zurdo's
just
about to
staying
fight?
busy.
You know who Zurdo is about to fight? Forget the David Benavidez. He has January 16th. He's about to fight a guy 18-0,
Robin
16
Safar's a legit guy.
Robin
Guys,
Safar's a legit guy. What is
80 and
Opetaia?
0 is always worth a few bucks because it's boxing. You can break
I know
your
you could,
hand.
yes.
You can get some freaky cut.
True.
There could be something can happen. 80 to 1?
Right, you're right.
80 to 1?
It's worth the effort.
Next up, I'm not even waiting for the bell. Jamel Manny Pacquiao Jr. fought to a draw in his debut. A draw that, from a lot of the opinion of a lot of observers, maybe he deserved to lose against Brendan Lally. Boxing's historically a poor man's sport, right?
Jinky, always
Guys
in
fight
distress.
their way out of the streets, basically. And Manny Pacquiao grew up poor, but his son obviously did not, because Manny Pacquiao did very well. When it's said that a fighter's hungry, that's what they mean, right? Like they're literally hungry.
Yeah.
And his father was literally hungry.
So, right, literally hungry. So, is this kind of an impossible situation for his son, do you think, Malik?
What weight was the fight at again? 130.
question.
130. Whatever it is.
Doesn't
There's
matter.
nothing but killers there.
He didn't deserve the
He's
draw.
25 and turning pro. Like
I saw 2 of the kids' amateur fights. He was bad. I didn't think he deserved to be in the ring. He shouldn't be put in the ring. But you know what? I thought the same thing about Shane Mosley Jr.
Yeah, he's got a
Saw
lot
a few of
better.
his amateur
He's improved
fights,
a
got
lot.
his early bouts. I'm like,
How about
he's not
Julio
a boxer.
Cesar
Shane
Chavez
Mosley
Jr.? Chavez Jr.
I thought the same thing
was
about
built
Chavez
up
Jr.
against
Yeah.
fights that were borderline, not even real fights.
Absolutely.
And he looked awful. But you know what? In certain ways, he's a chip off the old block. Because Chavez Jr., for all his problems later on and everything, developed himself eventually into a good fighter.
To take a shot.
And I would be
Same thing with Mosley Jr.
And I'd be
Take a
remiss
shot.
if I didn't mention Mosley Jr. is fighting in the opener this Saturday against Jesus Ramos.
Yeah,
Good
he
fight.
turned into a solid pro.
He's fighting this
So
weekend.
you never know.
on the
but
Pitbull Cruz Roach.
right now I'm thinking Pacquiao Jr. No.
All right, before we go, here's the upcoming schedule of fights on DAZN this weekend. Thursday for Bangkok, it's light flyweights. As knockout CP Freshmart takes on Junior Leonardo Zarate. Then, Saturday in Monte Carlo, the ring's number 5 ranked junior featherweight Shabazz Massoud takes on Peter McGrail. It's also on Saturday. It's heavyweights headlining in Germany and junior welterweights in Phuket, Thailand. Yes. All right, that does it for us for this week. For Malik Scott, Doug Fischer, Mike Coppinger, nice to have you back. I'm Max Kellerman. Thanks for watching Inside the Ring. We'll see you next week.